So we are live, just waiting for everybody to come on who wants to join us today.
Yes.
We're here at Mama Santee's house.
That's right.
I'm Mama Santee with my friends.
Yes. Yay. Danielle Lee, 333.
Kristin Joy.
And Izzy Stone.
Izzy Stone.
Yes, and so we are here. Today we're going to be talking about spiritual practices and a lot of other cool spiritual stuff, you know, how to really integrate mind, body, and spirit into your daily practice, into your life. So let's take it away. Who
Yes.
wants to start today?
You start, Izzy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Miss Izzy.
You start. Yes.
Yeah, put on the spot.
Well, you start.
Okay. So we really wanted to tap into meditation, what it looks like for everybody, because that's a great way to connect to spirit. And so I know Santee practices every day. Donna, I know you practice a lot. I just started. I've done it before. When I meditated in the past, I would get a lot of downloads. So a lot of communication from goddesses. However, in meditation now, what I find is this beautiful stillness. And everyone's meditations will always look different. I think it's great when you do get messages and when you do connect to spirit in that way. But I actually find it very beautiful that I can actually get myself to a space now where it is just the stillness. And they're actually guiding me. They're teaching me how to sit, how to like posture myself, how to breathe. But also they're teaching me that it doesn't have to be work. I think a lot of us have the mentality of, oh, I can't think of anything, I can't see anything, feel anything, and it's like, no, it's just being. And so that's something that I'm learning in meditation that I find quite beautiful, that I'm implementing, you know, every morning as often as I can.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes!
Yay. So, because I love, it's really helpful for me to, like, kind of research what it's like for other people, and it helps. the love. All hands in, guys.
Yes.
It helps me to define and understand what I'm experiencing. So when you say that they are teaching you things and helping you, what does that like look like, feel like, sound like?
Okay.
For you?
It's Anubis sitting to my left, Isis to my front. They're both sitting in front of me, and my eyes are closed, but Anubis to the side will say, like, you know, sit up straight. Isis will tell me it's not work, just let it just be. Practice being in the stillness, and they'll say things to me. I'll hear things like, there you go, or stay in that, like stay in that spot that you're in. So that's what it, so it's hearing them, and in a way, seeing them.
That's very cool. And then, like, I'm learning what it looks like for me to hear and to see from a spiritual sense, from your third eye. And also, because I know that, and this is a lot of the different clairs, right? So the hearing, all of the senses on the psychic level, which you teach about. So, because I've had experiences in both, and so when I meditate, sometimes it's one, sometimes it's the other. So when you say you hear, I've heard it sounds like it's outside of me, a voice that is not me, that is audible, more or less. And then other times, most of the time, it's my own voice, but the language is very different. So what does that sound like and look like for you? Do you audibly hear?
That's a great thing to bring up. I think when I first started communicating with spirits, or the
Thank you, Santee.
yeah, clearly without any of you guys this wouldn't have happened, but the other side, I'll call it, it did feel very outside of me. It felt like I was hearing their voice, but they were over there. Now, just like you, it sounds very much in here. It's still their voice. I can still discern that it's them, but it is inside of me. So I do see him. The only reason he's appearing to me in physical right?
Mhm.
Is so that he can show me what it looks like to sit in that way. But it is just like you coming from in here. And we talked about this in the shower. You're very body psychic.
Baby shower. Baby shower. Not them showering together.
Oh, yeah.
Just want to clarify. Just want to clarify. Baby shower.
Baby shower. The event with babies.
Not this morning. Talking in the shower.
No.
I got all. I love it.
That is so cute.
So good. So good.
No, where there's babies, yes, or baby to be.
Yes.
Yes, a party,
at
a
the
gathering
shower.
of women. Yes.
So good.
You met.
So
we talked
good.
about you being body psychic.
Yes.
So what does
Yeah.
that look like for you?
Yeah.
Ooh, body psychic. And she had mentioned that to a friend, and I'm like, she said, Kristin is very body. I said, oh, what does that mean? I don't know. So it's cool being around other women, such as yourselves, because it's helping me to learn more about things that they're natural for me, that I just feel or sense, but I'm getting some more knowledge behind it. But body psychic, as I'm learning, is I've been, for the past maybe 5, 6, 7 years, I can feel energy, and it's the chills for me.
The surging of
Yes,
the energy.
It's electric, and we joke around that I'm like one of the wacky inflatable tube guys, because when something really resonates, that energy is literally resonating with every cell in my body, and I've got full body chills and goosebumps, and sometimes it's so intense I cannot sit still. I have to move the energy. But for me too, the first thing that I started to notice was that same sensation being very localized in different parts of my body.
With what was being said.
Yes. So I was watching one of my favorite movies. It was very violent. I enjoy the darker movies. And there's a very violent scene, and I was getting chills just on the top, like in a circle on the back of my head. And I was like, that's really weird. And I made note of it, and it kept happening. And so now I know when there is something that I see that is painful, if someone is feeling pain or they say something that's caused them pain, I get chills in this part of my head. So over the years, different parts of my body get chills and light up, and it's kind of like I feel like a detective, learning what that means for me, and it helps me interacting with other people and working with other people.
Right.
Yes, and navigating your own way of honing in on what is resonating with your individual spirit.
Yeah.
And what truth is surfacing, and also, like you said, a detective, so you're just putting these pieces together, and you're finding out what is truth for you.
It's one way that spirit talks to me.
Because this is all a journey, we're all on a journey here, and there is no right or wrong. Let's just say that, to put it out there. And the experience that you have as you are going on this journey is what makes up that learning pattern experience. Because when we are practicing spiritual practices, which is our topic for today, and we are practicing a type of meditation, because there's so many different types of meditation. This is all you learning and communicating within your own spirit, and how spirit communicates with you, and you're creating a dialogue almost. You're creating a language. And this is what helps you in your path, in your journey, if that makes sense. So when you hear these terms like ascension, what does that mean? We talked a little bit about this when we did the Finding Your Healer, when we did that live.
Right.
So I think we're just extending and expounding upon what we had spoken about that day. But for me, myself, meditation was like taboo. Like meditation was not good because I was raised very, very Christian. So on my father's side, I come from a long line of Christian missionaries dating back to World War I in the Philippines. So I was raised very, very evangelical Christian. And so what meditation looked like for me was doing morning devotionals with Jesus.
Yes.
So it was a lot of praying and doing either a devotional or reading the Bible and meditating upon the Word of God. So that's how I practice meditation. And then when Holy Spirit, as I grew in this practice, right, Holy Spirit for me, within me, started to expound on what the practice of meditation was. So as I started to have more children, and then of course raising the kids and homeschooling them, I didn't always have time to sit down and do this formal sitting down and reading of a devotional or reading God's word or all those things. And so it caused a lot of frustration in me. So I let it go, and I just remember Holy Spirit speaking to my heart and saying that it doesn't have to be like that. Sort of like what you're saying. It's not work. It's connection. It's developing the connection relationship with yourself, cultivating that. And so you feel comfortable with aligning. So you start to feel, and I'm going to go there, with the subtle energies, the chakras, you're feeling the resonance of this, and it makes sense because literally the chakras from the root, the sacral, the solar plex, heart, throat, third eye, which is, was it our pineal, and our crown. And I can always get mixed up, pineal or the other
Pituitary.
one. No, pituitary. There we go. Thank you. And so when you understand how your body works, you're like, wow, that's why I'm getting the message that I'm getting and feeling that connection there. So for me, what I felt was I was so busy with my kids. They're all 2 years apart from each other, and I've had 5. I was juggling so many. I was like, how do I do this? So it turned into prayer. It turned into me doing laundry and being in prayer, me grocery shopping and being in prayer, me cooking, blessing the food and being in prayer. So that became meditation for me. And I, just like you, started to receive downloads. Now for me at the time, the downloads I would receive was just information on how to go about my day, what was going to come up or come through, and to prepare me for it. So it was guidance that came through. But again, all of us are different on how this looks for us because of our individuality, our life, and no two alike, that whole thing. So hopefully this brings some clarity.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense because
Yeah.
that's how it started for me as well.
Yeah.
Because I was raised Catholic and Christian, and then I would always find comfort, or I would always find the Holy Spirit in that way. And then I lived in Mexico for quite some time and started to learn energy because I didn't quite understand the language or whatever, but I did learn doing things intentionally, which is being in prayer, washing the dishes,
That's
moving meditation is what it is.
Meditation.
It's like a habitual process to where we can go within, because I really even growing up, I didn't understand why we were reaching outside of ourselves, because when I would go into the silence, I would hear God or the Holy Spirit or, my angels who I was connecting to when I was a kid, and then just as I grew in my practice, I started to realize I didn't really like calling it prayer. As there's so double meanings for so many things. But it's devotional. I like devotional. I think that sounds nice, because then with the kids, it started to get to a shift in mindset. So what I do is the Lord's Prayer.
Mm-hmm.
Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And I repeat that over and over and over in my head. That's like my radio. That's like my background noise, that super
That's
high
right.
vibing prayer. So
That's right.
constantly throughout my day,
That's right.
I am shifting out of a frequency that I don't want to be in just by repeating that prayer. And then sometimes it'll turn into love, 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 you know, and then you just start singing around and just like frolicking through.
So devotion,
Yeah.
devotion or devotional is being devoted. So we're being devoted to God and the essence of God, which is the reflection of who we are within.
Yeah.
It's the divinity, it calls out to the divinity within. So these are access keys. Like this is what ignites or sparks.
Access keys, your spiritual practice that you have an access key to really get into that frequency.
That's right. And it's cultivating. So what Izzy had started off with is the cultivation of the stillness. So most individuals, they think, okay, meditation, I can't sit still to meditate. Well, there's different forms, different ways, different expressions of meditation. But having an attitude of devotion, being devoted, that's the beautiful shift a little bit of the language that might help you to see things in a different way.
Right.
So you can create your own. Because again, it's fine-tuning what works for you. It's not for others, it's for you. The unique relationship that you have with spirit, with God.
And it brings forth, like, you know, it brings forth the stillness. So you're going into that stillness, right? That 0 point space to where you can just be. That's where the answers are. That's where healing is. So whatever it is, your highest self wants to bring through will come through in support with our guides, our peeps, you know, our
but
guides,
this is
angels,
going
source,
within.
God, goddess. But this is going within.
The stillness is within. It's not. It's not outside
of ourselves.
No,
not at all.
Yeah.
Because then in that practice, we start to realize, oh, this is me, and
totally.
or actually,
That's right.
we bring it way back to this is.
Yes, this is.
This is.
This is. And we can even say the I am statements.
Yes.
I am the I am. I am. So that is the being. That is the consciousness that you are source. You're an extension of source.
Of source.
Yes.
Yes.
So when you come into that consciousness understanding, that is the stillness. That is the meditation. So I think most people feel a little intimidated with the word meditation because they think it's to stay still and meditate.
And it has to look a certain way.
Exactly.
Yes.
Or that they're going to leave their body and like whatever.
Yeah, and they're
it
waiting
is.
for something to happen, like outside of them.
Outside of
this
them,
is all your ability to go within yourself.
Right.
And so I want to kind of coin this conversation as the above, so the below. As the within, so is the without.
Yes.
So and it's even in the Lord's Prayer.
Yeah.
In heaven as on earth. Yeah.
Yes.
So that is the reflection that we're trying to establish this conversation, that everything begins within. The worlds, the universe is already inside of you. And so meditation or devotion is exploring those aspects.
That's where all the magic is, right?
Absolutely.
And when you find that stillness, and if I can share, like,
Yes.
I was definitely of the mindset in the beginning of my meditation practice that it had to look a certain way. I had to sit down in a quiet spot for 30 minutes. I had to have the right pillow. I had to, sit the right way.
All the things.
Yeah, I had to have all the things and do all the things properly. And what's the word I'm looking for? There is something to, having a proper posture.
Yes.
And, being comfortable with those things. But it was at that time when I started more about having the things, the outside things. And then dealing with the monkey mind and just noticing all of the anxiety that's going on in my mind, all of the chatter, But the more that I was practicing, the more I started to kind of step back from myself and become more of the witness and the observer, where I am not like the thoughts anymore. I am noticing the thoughts.
Right.
And then the more that happened, there's just more and more distance that's being created all within myself in this meditation practice. And the more distance that's being created, the more I'm noticing what's going on.
Or maybe more of a distance with the ego self
Yes.
rather than
Yes.
yourself, because
Yes.
you're really getting to know yourself.
Yes.
You're exploring yourself and
Yeah.
the different aspects of yourself
Yeah.
by looking from a different viewpoint. The more you're practicing your
Definitely.
your devotional, you're practicing your
Yeah.
meditation.
And that served its purpose for me for a little bit, because it separated those two selves for me. And you know, like Donna said, Danielle, sorry.
Danielle Lee.
Yeah,
Danielle
AKA. Yeah, AKA.
I stopped having the time for that in the morning. So my meditation has shifted over the years, and it's become more of, I'm glad that I had that time to separate the ego and the self, because now I'm able to go into like moving meditation much more easily. I've noticed that I'm in that state when I'm in nature, going on hikes. I don't listen to music. I listen to what's going on in my head, and I'm having that relationship and conversation with spirit and how spirit connects with me. And why I say that's where the magic is, I was hiking and having this conversation with myself, not myself, with myself, and there was no one on the trail, and I get up to this turnaround, and this mother and son are coming around the corner, and I don't remember exactly. I've got it in my notes somewhere because it was very magical.
Write it down.
I literally had a question in my mind that I was, asking in my conversation, and the son answered my question as he was coming around the trail.
The sun.
And
yeah.
I just started laughing. I'm like, okay,
Thank
thanks,
you.
guys.
Yeah. So that's a little bit of the playing with the energy of when you're in stillness and you're cultivating. You don't realize how much you're expanding your awareness and your consciousness, and you're expanding your Merkaba, you're expanding your chakras. So it's like radar. And so you're sending out these signals, and then of course the universe is going to bring it back.
Right,
you're
so
sending
the
out.
divine masculine and then the divine feminine.
Feminine, yes,
Yeah,
right.
So,
So all of this is happening, but again, what we're right now in this moment, what we're describing is what you tap into and what you learn through the practices of
meditation.
like the spiritual practices and meditation and connecting and the devotional and all these things. It's to continue to fine tune that you have these experiences and you're like, whoa, I'm capable of that? Yes, you are. That's what we're made to do. We're an extension of God.
Yeah.
So that's what we're here to do.
I would like to also bring up to tapping into like with Izzy with Anubis and your peeps
So
and
good.
stuff.
So good.
Because what happens too is when you're constantly going within yourself and praying, meditating, doing your devotionals, peeps show up.
Yes.
And they're like, hey, hi, I'm here with you.
You can see us finally.
Yeah.
I'll
and
guide you.
yeah,
Yes.
so that was
So
also
good.
happening to me, like the further I'd get and everything, they just show up, they're like, I'm like, what's your name, and then I stopped even asking their name because sometimes they speak a different language and you're just like, what,
Yeah.
Yeah. So they do just show up and to teach something. It's like,
do.
to assist with something.
Yes.
So it's really great for learning and about yourself and what is readily available for you to tap into.
That's right. So you're waking up all the clairs, basically, in the
Yeah.
nutshell.
Yeah.
So you're waking up all the clairs, and everybody comes in a different way.
Yeah.
Everybody, meaning when you start to practice these spiritual practices and you implement this in your life, you will have these experiences, and they will be uniquely to you. Even a passed on loved one that you may have never met, a great-great-grandmother, great-great-grandfather, may come in and give you a message, and it's going to be exactly for what you need right now, today, and maybe in the next couple of years or whatever you're going to go through. That's how it works, but we're designed to operate on this level. So we just want to create a conversation where we are sharing our experiences and how we were able to tap into this and what it looks like, right? And so you can feel comfortable and safe about what's happening to you, or what you want to happen, you know, what you want to see.
As long as you're going within.
That's right.
You're going within yourself, because nothing is happening to you.
Yes.
Like,
it's happening for you.
Right. And we're putting it out and we're getting what we give,
That's
because
right.
as above, so below, as within, so without.
Yes.
So,
So I think Izzy's
wonderful thing.
Yeah, go ahead. What are you going to say? Yeah, I
Psychic.
can see it.
Psychic.
I'm like, it wants to come out. It wants to come out.
The beautiful thing I think that's happening also here is the walk we have with God looks so different for each of us. And I think that's super beautiful to see in this moment, and also for anyone watching, is it doesn't have to look a certain way. And I do think that it's beautiful that you can have your own walk with God, with the divine, and it's exclusive to you. It doesn't have to look away. And I think that's beautiful that we all do it differently.
Yeah, because it's our own relationship with the divine. Nobody's should tell you how your relationship is gonna be.
Yes.
Everybody's different.
And that's the most important word. It's a relationship. Just
A
like
relationship,
a relationship that you have with anyone else.
That's right.
Absolutely. There is a big, and I've talked about it so many times, but there's this big thing of worship, and worship is beautiful. I like the word devotion, because then it is more like a relationship. I feel like sometimes so much with church, or even in pagan concepts, you have this thing of conditional. If I give you this thing, if I give you this offering, right, if I sacrifice this thing of myself, you will give me something in return. And to me, that's exactly the word conditional love versus unconditional.
Well, how would you
It's
feel
like
if
honoring,
your friend
worship,
did that?
honoring.
Exactly.
you?
Exactly.
Like, come and do this for you.
Yeah,
Exactly.
You can do this for
Take
me.
this and you give me exactly. And so I think that also shifts you as a person, where you start to understand the word love quite deeply.
Yes.
I never understood why people said, I don't know how people live without God in their life, because I lived without God in my life for a very, very long time. And now understanding what that looks like for me, and even being comfortable with the word God.
I was just gonna say that.
It's so,
I've got a good one on that.
right? It's so beautiful because it's just so pure. And now I understand why people would say that. My life, don't ever leave me. My life is so different. Because of it,
So you have to tell your story.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so maybe, I think this was just last year, 2023, going through a lot of stuff, and I was working a 12-step program, and in going through the process and going through the steps, it was a very in-depth, and I was ready to dig. Like, I need to get to the bottom of what's going on. And I realized in that work that I was very uncomfortable with the word God. I never said it. It had a very religious context to me. I didn't grow up with religion, and really didn't know much about any religions, or God or anything. And so after coming to that realization, that was a really big aha moment for me. And it's like, why am I not comfortable with that? And I found the answers, by just asking myself, and digging to the root of where is this coming from? And so then, I started getting comfortable saying the word around like family and other people. I'm like, can I say this? It feels weird. God, can I say that? And I was really, I was having a bad day at work, and I left my my home office to go for a walk, and I remember just walking on the sidewalk. I'm like, God, I need your help. Like, I don't know what's going on. I'm super frustrated and angry. And less than a minute later, I'm walking on the sidewalk. There was a big piece of paper on the grass, and I went to go pick it up, and it was a calendar. And I was like, oh, cool, a free calendar. It was a year old, but I'd take it anyways. And the cover of it said God's promises.
Oh, wow.
And I got so many chills right now. And, you know, I'm like, okay, cool, like I see it, but that doesn't answer me like I'm asking. But, you know, that was kind of my process of undoing all my old thinking, and, you know, coming to learn that for me was God's way of like, I'm here.
Yes.
And the stuff happens for me so instantly, and that just started, you know, me down a path. And I asked, a lot of stuff happens for me when I'm driving. I think that's a very meditative time and space for me also. And one day I go, so God, what's up with your son Jesus? I don't know anything about religion. And I'm driving down the 22 freeway, and I look, and I had to do a double take. There was a whole billboard. It was just Jesus. I'm like, oh my God.
You mean this guy?
And, you know, at that point, I'm starting to understand, you know, when you put stuff out there, it is absolutely returned.
That's right.
And, you know, it's not just, for me, you know, you don't just blow it off.
Yeah.
It's an answer to
Like
something that you've asked.
Specific. It's a specific answer.
And you're aligning to that frequency.
Yes.
You know what I mean? To where
and sometimes what's funny is because the proof, I like to say proof is in the pudding. Proof is in the pudding. So when that happens, it's because you're seeking something, and you're asking, and you're putting it out there that you are wanting to know more about this. And so what the universe, what God, Spirit Source does, in the same exact way that you are asking it specifically, they will give you the answer with the same exact, like almost with a sarcasm, a little bit of a sarcasm and humor.
Spicy.
Like, okay, let me just give this to you.
Yes.
And the intention behind that, what the universe wants you to do, is for you to expand your understanding of God. Expand your understanding of who you are. Expand your understanding so your experiences can be even greater. And so the amount of love and the vibration and the frequency of love and what our heart can actually do, I mean, it's magnificent, right? It can keep a city lit. The electromagnetic energy in one human's heart can keep a city lit for 2 weeks. So I'm just saying that. And it can also live outside our human body for 2 weeks on its own. So that's crazy town.
And then there's that.
But then there's that. But there's so much love for us to be able to absorb and take this in. And for us, like I said, this is language. This is how we learn. But language isn't only just words. Language is so much more. The universe wants to convey so much more to us to expand our consciousness of who we're having this conversation with, our love. So the love that we have between us, that individual, and God, so our understanding, our mindset can start to not be limited anymore. And that's the intention of the universe that I feel on the daily. Each individual that finds me and is on my table, my intention is for them to feel that love. But they have to be able to feel that self-love of wanting to pursue these things in order to get that feedback. And it's literal feedback. And it's intelligent and on purpose.
I just keep seeing, because like it's a constant like working out of this area, you know, and so like we put out and we receive and we discern the information. Yeah.
Yes.
You know,
Totally.
I
Completely.
very helpful.
Completely. Yeah.
For
So-
us visual people.
Yes. So the concept of as above, so the below, as within, so the without, on this earth as it is already done in heaven, right? Those are just, and again, we can go there about mantras.
Mm-hmm.
We can talk about mantras, we can talk about affirmations, and we can talk about scripture. Whatever it is that you can do is another practice. It's another ritual. It's another spiritual thing that you can use, to keep building upon.
Nurturing,
Yes, and the nurturing. I'm sorry, am I
No, you're
smashing
good.
you?
My
So,
son's falling asleep. I need to.
Oh yeah.
No, you're good.
So, we go to work. So with this, I kind of want to touch on, because we're talking about like the activation of love, right, and the frequency of love, and how that is almost like the igniter, right, of what we do, and with all the intention that we do, and all the
what
magic
we do in life.
That's right. It's all about love, right?
Mm-hmm,
So the as above, so the below. So this is what I love. So, with me, I love my yoga. So it's like they always say at the end, our teacher, who's leading the class, they always say namaste, right? They give their whatever they want to say to the class, their bits of wisdom, and then they say namaste. So people hear the term namaste. And I've said this to many of my clients that have come to this space and this understanding of going within, cultivating the stillness and that quietness within themselves, and then they start to cultivate and be able to practice all this within them, and they reach this place of namaste. Now, what namaste means is the light that is in me recognizes and salutes and bows to the light that's in you, because we are one. That's what this is. So we'll have to do a live on quantum entanglement, so we can expound on it a little bit further. But what it is creating communities. So we say as above, so the below, as within, so the without. It's also the micro to the macro.
Yeah.
So what you see, the interaction between us now is true love, absolute true love, but it started within ourselves doing the work. And then we were omitting this frequency into our own field, and then we're attracting our relationships that are fitting those pieces. That's right.
Yeah.
So this is, and again, it's a journey. It's a practice. It's not perfect. And we're doing this and having a freaking blast, by the way.
Yeah,
we're enjoying it. We're just, and it's like, I can honestly look at Izzy, I can honestly look at Kristin, and we've done this a million times. Like, they are a part of me that I never knew I needed.
Yeah.
And when I see them, I just see them an extension, and that's not from an ego standpoint or a narcissistic standpoint. It's a point of like, wow, all the beauty of these women here, they're an extension of what I've put out, because look what came back to me.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so, does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
We can all say that. I mean, not Jesus.
Yeah.
He stopped. I still get them, but it went from literal signs, billboards of Jesus, and then like Danielle was saying, that's generating more questions for me. I want to know more, and so I'm asking more, and I'm receiving more, and it didn't stop. It doesn't stop with signs and the synchronicities, but these women, people that are being brought into my life, and now having a more expanded viewpoint, less limiting beliefs. I see the work of God through all of you, and how you all have been answers to the questions that I've been asking. And it's such a cool, beautiful, all of it.
Experience.
There's something to say with trusting the process, Because there's something to say also with healing. When you ask for healing, right?
Exactly. You
That-
gotta really
that
truly
laugh.
For real though.
Be careful what you ask for. If you're not
Yes.
truly
So
looking
true.
for healing, don't ask
Yes.
for it.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh, yes. That's literally the order to the universe. Whenever you ask of something, it'll appear.
Shall receive.
Yes, and you have to view those as opportunities. It's so easy for us to see negative in our relationships or the things that we do in life. But again, as Danielle says, there are opportunities,
Yes.
lessons to learn,
Yeah.
to grow. And that's something that, like, last year, Mama Santee's grand rebirth on the 29th.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
Yay!
Yes.
Yay! Come join
last April was the day that changed my life. I came to Mama Santee's vendor event selling my candles, met Santee, started working with Santee, met Danielle, started working with Danielle, met Kristin. I mean, it all started in that moment just because I had that prayer or that wish to heal. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's been a blast, like I'm saying. It's amazing. What was I going to say? I was going to bring up something right now, and my mind just went blank. About healing. Yeah. Gosh, it'll come to me. Someone take over. Someone take over.
Yeah, so
yeah.
when we're asking for healing, like really what comes through is everything and anything that needs to heal.
That's right.
Or
Yeah.
the most important thing that needs to heal right
Yes.
then and there. It's going to
Priority.
show you
Yes.
that right
Yeah.
in front of your face in
Yes.
any way that you can see it.
Yes.
And if you don't see and acknowledge it, you're going to
Come
keep
back up.
getting the same thing.
That's right.
And
And
then
it's mind, body, spirit.
Mhm.
Healing on all levels.
Yes.
Right, and also like with the spiral, because we're ascending, we're
That's
we're
right.
shifting, we're evolving, and we're spiraling up. We always go back around to that thing.
Yes.
You know, are you healed? Did you experience
Yes.
it enough?
Yeah.
Okay, and then we go on to the next
Yes.
level to
yes.
of
That's
living or healing or
Yes.
whatever it is.
Which is the ascension spiral.
right.
yeah.
So
And that's
the
the cool
sacred
thing
spiral,
about
the dance, the
perspectives is, as I've done or spent so much more time in spiritual practices where it's become, glad I shaved today.
Yeah.
Where it's become, all of my it's a 24/7 thing now for me. It's not just, oh,
Yes.
this is cool. But for me, my perception has shifted so much where, we're talking about the spiral of ascending and growing and healing. You're
Consciousness.
going up. But if you look at that from a top down, it looks like you're just going in a circle.
yeah.
And sometimes I know that's how I felt, like these old patterns, these old, dating the same kind of guy every time. It's like, what is
Yes.
going on?
Yeah.
But when you
Shift your
shift that,
perspectives.
and
Yeah.
you're not looking at that spiral top down anymore, you're looking at it in front of you, and you can see that, like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
going around, and now I'm going up, and you're
Yeah.
still hitting that same place.
And
but
not working out of ego, which that's
Yes.
another thing. I think there's this big, at least I had the concept of ego of it being like arrogance, but ego is also fear. Ego is also
Yeah.
jealousy.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's what actually I wanted to bring up, and I
Yeah.
forgot. But the whole thing with the namaste, as we're seeing, the light in me recognizes and salutes and bows to the light in you. So as you're going about this process, we have to remember that the earth realm is all about polarity and duality. So there's every subject, which Abraham Hicks says, every subject has two subjects. It's like a coin. A coin has two sides, right? So when you start to implement these practices, these spiritual practices, and you start to, your spirit and your consciousness, your God mind starts to expand within you, there is a resistance, which is the ego. And so the ego is, and that's what you hear, like ego death, all these terms about ego, and it is light and shadow, okay? And again, everything is energy. All that we see is energy. So what Kristin was describing is observing her thoughts, observing her emotions. This is something that you start to practice when you are meditating, when you are doing your devotion or devotional. You start to see the difference between the two. You start to experience this, and this is where you make the choice, because we come out of the victim consciousness, the lack consciousness, into the creator consciousness, being a creator of your reality. Now, this is the empowerment part, because you're literally tapping in within the mindset that you co-create with God, you co-create with Spirit. So you're literally shifting yourself, because you're realizing you have a choice now. You see your life in a different lens, a different perspective.
It's not happening to me, it's happening
for you. Yes. And you get to choose, you get to select who you want to be. And so in this process, it's tough, because you realize how many programs are running in the subconscious mind. So the subconscious mind, as you're going about your journey of healing, you're going to be triggered. These triggers are going to let you know that there's places that are still not healed in you. And that comes from ego. Now, ego is there to protect us. It's a way to protect us. It's not all bad.
It's not a bad thing. Balance, exactly.
It's something that you find the balance, you understand the nature of it. You can't push it away. It's just like shadow work. You can't push it away and stuff it into a closet or sweep it under the rug and pretend it doesn't exist, or be so embarrassed or don't want to bring it up. No, you have to integrate it. And so
feel it to heal it.
Yes, feel it to heal it. So again, the frontal lobe cortex, which I was just listening to Bruce Lipton this morning, and he was saying our conscious mind is the frontal lobe cortex, which is right here in our forehead, and then the subconscious mind is like the 90% of the brain, right? And so the subconscious is the programs that you run. It's the mundane things that you do every day as a habit. You get into the car and you know, if you have to drive to work, you're doing this, but you're also thinking of other things, and you do it as a habit because your subconscious mind is taking over. This is your program. Now, in that programs that you have learned, right, since you were born, since birth, and you've adapted to, some of those programs are holding limiting beliefs. Now, those limiting beliefs, or those thought forms, those constructs, are what's going to try to stop the growth, the spiritual growth and expansion of your spiritual journey,
your soul.
And your soul, exactly. So there's two things happening, and I always say healing is messy. It is. Let it get messy. Let it get real, and let it get messy. And so as this is happening, you're gonna feel that resistance, because you're gonna feel these two identities, or these two exactly. They're going to be doing this, and
this is what I know, but this is what I want to be.
That's right. It's going to be conflict within, and so you hear the term dark night of the soul. You're gonna feel something like that, or experience something like that, dark night of the soul. It's like when you go within, and these old limiting beliefs no longer fit who you are. That's transformation.
Yes.
So most people, I would say, close to like 85 to maybe 90% individuals, and I'm praying that it's going to be less this year, and as we continue forming the new earth, they give up right there. It gets too hard. So they have a dark night of the soul, and it's an ego death. And again, we go through many ego deaths in our lifetime, and it is actual transformation.
That's just the death of who you thought you were.
Exactly.
That's it. Is the ego
yes.
death. Yeah.
Ego death. So it is transformation, and it is being reborn. And you do have these two identities existing in the one avatar body.
That would look like this, you go through those ups and downs,
Yes.
if you're looking at the spiral at a different perspective when you're going through these things,
That's right.
Because you're going through that rebirth, so when you're birthing something, you're going down.
Yeah.
You know, they're like contracting. You're like, wait,
Yes.
do I push?
That's
do I
right.
push through, or
That's
do
right. That's right.
I hold my breath?
And that's something as like when you are facilitating individuals healing, you've got to understand what contraction and expansion looks like, because the individual that you are holding space for is going to do that a lot. They're going to retract, they're going to pull away, pull within themselves, and then they're going to break through that, and then they're going to expand. And then they're going to do it again. They're going to contract, and then they're going to pull within, and then they're going to break through, and then they're going to expand. And each time when they do that, they are expanding even greater.
Yes.
So they're breaking through those limiting beliefs
Conditions,
and those old
the
thought forms
programs,
and all of that. And on the other side of that is their divinity. So it's fascinating, and it just never ends.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So
Always healing.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
And that's
I love
exactly
that.
what this group does, is holding space
Mhm.
for the person on for their journey in that moment,
That's right.
if they're contracting or they're expanding.
That's,
Right.
that's right.
Exactly.
Yeah, and loving them and yourself throughout the process.
Totally, with no judgment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely, because it's all good. It's all meant for something.
Yeah.
And we're all doing it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we are. We're all there. Absolutely.
Living.
So Mama Santee's house is the place to do this.
Yes, it is.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. So what
Okay.
kind of thing could we leave? Are we about done? What kind of thing could we leave them with?
Yeah.
You know,
Okay, so
like advice or
I would like to give just one example. One example that happened to me, that I experienced, and this I attribute this to devotion. So for me, my own path, I have always been a seeker of knowledge and wisdom, and I've always not been content with just not knowing. I always want to know. And I think, and there's curiosity with that, but there's also a passion to be able to love God and love people the way God loves people. And that has been my intention in my heart since a child. And so when I was cultivating devotion, spending time with Jesus, all of this, and my walk with Jesus, I did have I had many, many stories on this, but how faithful God was to me and is still now. Again, this is something I'm just sharing that hopefully inspires you, and hopefully that you can identify with as you go on your spiritual practice. So I was due with my fourth baby. I had all my kids C-section. This was my baby boy Cameron, my second boy, and I was doing the nesting thing, getting the house ready because I was going in for a C-section to have him. And I was getting the laundry out, and I'm in prayer. I'm talking to Jesus, about everything. And like me going into the hospital, my other kids being at home with their dad, like all those things, praying about it, like, Jesus, he's going to need your help. Like all those things, like talking and talking. And I hear Jesus say, something is going to go wrong tomorrow for the C-section. And I was like, I dropped the laundry basket, and I was like, is it the baby? And he said, no, it's you. And I was like, okay. And then I said, is there anything I have to do? And he said, no, I'll let you know when it's time. And I was like, okay. So again, cultivating many years, I could hear his voice clear as day. So then I go about my business, and then go to the hospital, scheduled C-section, go in, they're, wheeling me into the operating room. And my ex-husband's next to me, and he has his stuff on, and he's ready to go, and he's holding my hand, and Jesus says, here we go, it's gonna happen. And I'm like, okay. And I can feel him taking position, Jesus taking position, a stance of protection over me. And he was here, Jesus was here, and my ex-husband was here. And I say, do I tell my husband? And he says, no. And I said, okay. And so they wheel me in, And they give me the morphine, the shot in the back, all the things, cut me open. And it's extra tugging and pulling, like there's extra going on. And my body's getting jerked. And then I hear my doctor go, uh-oh. And I'm like, okay, uh-oh's not good. And he says, you have so much scar tissue that your bladder and your uterus has webbed and fused together as one large organ. We have to cut through the bladder to get to the baby. So they had to cut through my bladder to get to my son Cameron. And so they did. They got him out, and he's beautiful, and they all gasped because he's gorgeous. Oh my God, beautiful baby boy. And so they go to, they hand him to, well, the nurse was so sweet. She let me like touch him like this. And she puts his little cheek across the back of my hand. And then they leave, so my ex-husband takes him out, and they go. And then Jesus takes this full-on stance, like, okay, here we go. And so I don't know what's going to happen next, but the anesthesiologist starts to argue with my doctor because what they gave me, the medication they gave me, only lasts for a certain amount of time. And so my doctor isn't able to sew up my bladder because we need a urologist to sew up my bladder. So I'm open, and a scheduled C-section should be 45 minutes tops. It turned into almost 4 hours. So what happened was the urologist was not even in the hospital. He was across the street at his office, and he had to come in. So my blood pressure started dropping because I already have low blood pressure. So the anesthesiologist starts yelling at my doctor, and they're yelling at each other. And my arms are strapped down because that's what they do with a C-section. And I start to fade. I start to feel the pain. And he's yelling at him, and he's saying, the anesthesiologist, I can't give her more. She'll go into a coma. And then it's wearing off. So they're like not knowing what to do. So Jesus says, just look at me. And I turn, and I can see him right here. And I'm just staring at him, and I fade out. And I wake up in the recovery, and the nurses are crying, and they're like, you're good, we stabilized you, you're good. So they did almost lose me that day. So I'm just sharing with you one story, and this is why I do what I do, and I help people get to where they need to be because of my own experiences. But I want to attribute all of this to the spiritual practices, that it's not just the trendy spiritual thing that you see out there. No. It is literally what we're here to do. We come here with the intention to fulfill something, to fulfill a mission. We sign a contract, we sign up for this stuff. So everything we go through, we review it later when we transition back. And so I want to say, Jesus was faithful to me. He is faithful to me, and he did come through that day. And that I knew what was going to happen because I had been practicing already. So I heard his voice very clearly. Yeah. So that's it.
Yeah. That's amazing.
And now we're all in tears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to share something that happens to me.
Yes.
So, and I, since I've been practicing since a little girl and everything too, like I hear a lot of things, people talk to me, and then it starts getting to a point where I ask questions, especially with, different things that come through to me, like, for example, dragons, and I'm like, really, God? Dragons? What? Like with a dream I had, and the way they explained it, and the story of creation, and look, I was like, what? And so then I heard loud and clear, seraphim, and then I had to research that. But like going in for answers, even with, the disclosure happening with interdimensional beings and extraterrestrials and different things like that, because like I've had so many things happen to me that weren't even of the spiritual, like literally in 2017 they're part of my team come in to take me because I had a total hysterectomy and a double mastectomy with reconstruction. And I feel that they were like, all right, it's time for her to wait. Like, she's done breeding,
Yeah.
obviously, you know? And so I had this great, huge experience, abduction experience. I say this because I wasn't abducted.
Yeah.
And I, waking up with needle pokes in my arm, and then just the experience. My husband and my daughter were there, going through stuff that's very real and not of the spiritual, and then going into prayer and being like, what is that?
Yeah. Yeah.
What is this? And then getting very loud and clear messages as to what it is, and it's very loud and clear. And so writing it down and, cultivating that relationship in the spiritual helps you throughout your entire existence.
Yes.
Your mind, your body, your spirit, your work, your
Yes.
family,
Yes.
your relationships with people, with spirit, with the trees, like in every
Everything.
aspect
I love
of
it.
your life.
Yes.
And then, because one of my things was I would research and I would find like experiences, but nobody knew what it was. Nobody was sharing what they felt inside it was to them until today. Now everybody's like, this happened to me and this is what I feel it is. And that's their truth. And it's absolutely incredible because now it's sparking that we are remembering
That's right.
who we are and where we come from, what we can do.
Yes.
And
Yes.
who's on our team.
Yeah, we're not hiding from it anymore, and we're not
Yeah.
keeping it hidden. Yeah.
Yeah.
And clarification is important to every experience that we have.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Going within
Yeah.
and asking God, what is this?
Yes.
Because God will answer. It literally was like, who is Inky and why is he saying that I am the Father? I'm like, what? No, because I know that we are divine beings, and
Yes.
for anybody to come in and be like, I birthed humanity and
Yeah.
stuff, it's like, that like rocks our soul, that rocks our existence. And so it's very necessary to go within and be like, what the flip is this?
Yeah.
What is going on? How do I feel about it? And see what comes through, or feel what comes through, sense what comes through. And the verbiage and everything is different. Like, I don't talk like a scientist. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I was told about the Adamic gene and like all these things. And then now I'm starting to hear that stuff out there when years ago I like wrote it down,
Yes, you did.
So
Yes, you did.
it's very incredible.
Getting confirmation on something that you wrote in your notebook that you thought you were going crazy.
That I thought I was crazy,
Yeah,
you
right.
know?
and
I'm
getting
really not
confirmation.
crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you
Yeah.
know? Like,
Yes.
it's incredible.
Well, I
It
think
is.
that's kind of the point of spiritual practices.
Spiritual practice.
Is to cultivate discernment within yourself, so that
Completely.
way when
Yes.
you have experiences, you're not terrified,
Yeah.
hopefully, of what you're experiencing, but then you know where to go, who to ask. It's all inside, and then wait for the answers to come, because they will.
Thank you for saying that, because you guys know this. I don't know if you know this, but you guys know this. When I first started with you guys, I was terrified to be crazy. Like, that was my biggest fear, right? It was like, I'm nuts. And it's beautiful to be on the other side of it with the confirmations and the synchronicities, and being like, I feel super comfortable with saying I'm nuts, but in a good way.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yes.
That has a different meaning than
Special.
what
Yes.
people say it means
Yes.
today.
But you just said it is your truth.
Yes.
Yes.
So your experience
Yes.
is your truth, and don't let anyone try and talk you out of it, because there are other people who are having the same experiences.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think this is great. This is
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Thank you
Yes.
so much for joining us.
Yes.
And we're here for you guys. If you want to
Yes.
reach out to us, please do, like, comment and stuff. We love talking about this, and we
Yes.
just want to make it like super comfortable, because this is where we're heading as an earth, as a
Yes.
species,
That's
we're
right.
really, as a collective, we're really just on this trajectory into the divine, the golden era.
That's
Again,
right.
another golden era.
Another
Yeah.
renaissance.
Yeah.
That's
So-
right.
It's here.
Yep.
Let's
We are
go.
here for this.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's
All right.
go.
All right.
Okay,
Thank you so
sounds
much.
Thank you.
Yay, bye.
Bye.
So cute. Oh, sorry. I'm
No, it's
sorry.
good. Thank you for
Which
the
one?
massage.
This one?
Yeah.
Ah. Okay.
I know this is gross and
Oops.
weird, but if you put saliva on it, it'll make it.
No
The
way.
enzymes. My Mexican mother taught me that.
Oh my God,
It
I
is-
love
I
that.
know, but
That's
it
weird.
works.
Just
I
like,
don't
You put
have enough
saliva on your
saliva.
foot.
does it have to be mine? Like, I'm
No.
not